Welcome to the Everyday Apostle, where ordinary lives meet extraordinary faith. Join our host, Kendall Peterson, as we explore how everyday men and women bring the gospel to life wherever they live, work, and play. Let's dive into it right now.
Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of the Everyday Apostle podcast. I'm your host, Kendall Peterson, and it is an honor to bring these inspiring stories of people trying to live out their faith in their daily lives. And I hope you guys are enjoying this show. I've been receiving some amazing feedback. If there's anything you want to see that you're not seeing, you let me know. Big thank you for all of the prayers, the messages, the support that I've been receiving, and especially for today's partner.
This episode of the Everyday Apostle is brought to you by our partners, the Wow Center. For over 50 years, the Wow Center has been transforming lives in South Florida by empowering adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They offer life skills training, employment opportunities, and social activities that help foster independence and build community. And there's an exciting event coming up you won't want to miss. Join us on October the 25th, 2024 at the beautiful Coral Gables Country Club for Wow Royale, starting at 8 p.m. It's going to be an unforgettable evening with fantastic entertainment, gourmet dining, and the chance to support a truly wonderful cause. To learn more about the Wow Center and get all the details on the Wow Royale event, visit wowcentermiami.org. That's wowcentermiami.org. Get involved, make a difference, and be a part of something amazing. The Wow Center, empowering lives and building brighter futures. See you at the Wow Royale.
Please check out the Wow Center. If you're not familiar with them, you will not be disappointed. And I'd love to see you guys at Wow Royale. I will definitely be there. Today, without further ado, I'd like to jump into my guest for today. I have the privilege of welcoming an extraordinary guest whose journey from a life of crime to a life of faith and service is truly inspiring to me personally and to my family. Pastor Eric Robinson, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kendall.
I'm just going to read your bio because this is a pretty incredible story. So Eric Robinson knows firsthand the challenges of a troubled past, with a history that includes arrests for assault and battery, gun possession, theft, and cocaine possession. Pastor Eric has seen it all. But in 1998, while serving time in a Dade County jail, he experienced a life-altering out-of-body experience with the Lord Jesus Christ. This profound spiritual awakening ignited a passion in Pastor Eric for juvenile intervention and prevention. After having his rights restored by former Governor Jeb Bush in 2003, he shared his powerful testimony with a hearing officer at the Department of Juvenile Justice in Tallahassee. This pivotal moment opened doors for him to connect with and guide juveniles who are making the same mistakes he did over 20 years ago. Pastor Eric served at the Juvenile Detention Center in Miami for over 10 years and continues to mentor young people. His dedication doesn't stop there. He also served as the associate pastor at the Way Fellowship Church in Pembroke Pines, Florida, and is certified by the state of Florida as an addiction counselor, behavioral health technician, and peer recovery specialist. A devoted husband and father, Pastor Eric continues his vital work in the field of addiction, using his personal experiences and his professional skills to make a difference in the lives of many. And I have seen some of that firsthand. Welcome to the show, Pastor Eric.
Thank you.
Pastor Eric, I know you through my wife's organization, and she had nothing but really, really positive things to say about you. And as I said before, I've seen some of your work, great reputation in the community that you have, but I don't know anything about you. So let's kind of get to that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Miami, Florida.
Okay. Which part of Miami were you in?
Liberty City.
Okay. All right. And did you grow up with a mother, father, and siblings and all of that typical
I
home?
grew, yeah, Ken. I grew up in a single parent home. I was raised by my mother.
Okay. All right. Um, if you don't mind me asking, was your father ever a part of your life, or do you not have any interaction, or had you not had any interaction with him growing up?
Well, I knew of my father. He lived in Washington D.C., but through my younger years, I didn't have any recollection of him or had any interaction with him. And so, like I said, I grew up with only my mother.
Okay. Any brothers and sisters?
Unfortunately, Ken, I'm the only child.
Okay. um, so was there any faith in your home as you guys were growing up? Did you guys go to church or anything like that?
Yes, there was my grandmother. She was a very devout Christian, and she made sure that her grandson was in church every Sunday, every Tuesday, and every time the doors were open.
It's funny how often the grandmother is that, matriarch of the family and makes sure that people come into church. So it definitely sounds like that was no different in your family.
Yes.
Um, in what ways did you guys live out your faith other than going to church on Sunday? Were there other things that you guys did?
Well, growing up, I can't really recall any other way that we, showed our faith besides going to church. One thing I can say about my family, they were always givers. Anytime that someone had a need, my family, my grandmother, mother, they would always try to help anyone in the community.
Yeah, I can see where you get your servant's heart then. Um, Talk to me a little bit about, those ages where it gets a little bit tougher, right? Middle school, high school, you start to kind of flex your independence, especially as a male. So tell me about those years in your life.
Well, Kendall, it started back in elementary school when I went to the inner city school called Ponciano Park. Um, that was the first time I realized I didn't have a father. I was a part of the Cub Scouts, and they asked us to bring our fathers the next day. I went home crying and asked my mother where was my father. And from there, the anger set in. I began to become rebellious by the time I was in the eighth grade. And from high school, it just got worse.
Yeah, those are some challenging times. I've, experienced it in my own family as well. What kind of things, when you talk about anger and acting out, what did that look like practically? What kind of things were you doing?
So once I hit junior high school, being that I'm the only child, I believe I was bullied as a child. And once I stood up for myself, I think I went a little overboard, and then I got suspended for fighting, and from there, my behavior totally changed, where I was now the aggressor. But like I said, Kendall, it came from anger of not having a father. And so once I got to high school, um, I got with the wrong group of people, and I joined the gang. And from there, my life was uncontrollable.
Do you think that, that joining the gang, becoming, part of something a little bit larger, having other role models, older kids and things like that, do you think that was a surrogate for the missing father?
Yes, it was.
I would imagine, fast forward a little bit, I would imagine in your professional career, you've seen a lot of that, right?
Unfortunately, Kendall, I do. I pastor at Everglades Correctional Institute here in Miami, Florida, and basically every man there does not have a father present in their life. So if I'm in a room of 50 men, maybe half of them never even knew their fathers, and so we know where the problem is. It lies with the fathers.
Yeah, it's a big role when you're a father. If you actually understand that, there's a tremendous responsibility, not just for the immediate term, but also for the future and future generations. So fatherhood is a critically important role that we have as men. Um, let me So talk to me a little bit. You're angry. You're acting out. You're now pushing into gang life, and I don't imagine that that gang was planting flowers in the park and doing all kinds of great community service projects. So what kind of things did you find yourself involved in?
We found ourselves, strong arm robberies, stealing out of stores, um, selling drugs. And so, whenever you join a gang, you have to do what the other ones do, especially the older ones. And so I found myself in a life of crime.
And so, um, how long was it before you first went to jail?
The first time I went to jail was I was 19 years old in Key West, Florida. And I was charged with cocaine possession, strong arm robbery, and aggravated assault.
Um, Probably not victimless crimes, but so that was, you said, the first time. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of walk me through your criminal career? What I ultimately would love to get to, Eric, is that in that part of your intro where you had a profound experience. So lead me through your jail time, your criminal time, and all of that up to that experience.
So from I can say 1989 until maybe 1998, I was in and out of incarceration. I've never been to prison, only county time. And so this last time when I committed a crime, mama couldn't get me out of trouble because I did something so profound. I went back to my job with a gun, and I threatened people. To make a long story short, um, you know, I was wrong, even though the people that were there did something to me that I won't get into, but I was wrong for going back to my job with a gun. From there, I was facing 10 years in prison, and only through the grace of God, I only did a year in the county jail. And some of it was spent in work release. But while I was there, Kendall, um, I was attending church because I knew that's where I can find peace because that's where grandmother would always take me when I was young. And one church service, I came back to my cell and I got on my knees and I said, God, if you're real, and I know that you're real, come into my life and save me. And Kendall, I have to tell you, that night I wasn't in the cell. I was on a cloud, Kendall, and I'm scared of heights. And I was looking down and I heard this voice say, jump. And it felt like I stood there forever. And I kept hearing this voice said, jump. And I took a chance and I jumped, Kendall. And when I jumped on the next cloud, it lit up. And I heard a voice said, I know he's real. I heard myself say, I know he's real. And I was thrown into my body. And when I jumped up, I didn't know where I was at. And I began to cry. And when I began to cry, I just asked, I said, well, what's going on? And I heard a voice, Kendall, it said, I took the anger from you. And I thought I was going crazy because I heard this voice. And I said, what was I angry about? He said, you hated your father. I said, I didn't even know my father. He said, that's why you were so angry because you never had the love of a father. And from that day, Kendall, I've never been the same.
What I mean, that's an amazing story, Eric. It really is. Um, so, what was the immediate change? Obviously, that's a remarkable experience, and there's the shock of it, and then probably some questioning about whether that was real or you made it up. Like, talk to me a little bit about maybe that first day after all of that happened.
After that experience, Kendall, I knew that God took the anger from me because I didn't feel angry anymore. And he allowed me to sit in Dade County Jail for that year and profess my faith, not only to the inmates, but to the staff. And the way I was able to do that is by being a model inmate while I was there. I gave them no trouble because the anger was gone, Kendall. And the people around me, they saw it, that I wasn't the same person that I was. I attended church. I was back on time from work release, and I did everything that was expected of me, and I was released early. But it started right there. And if I can add this, Kendall, and so when I was released from work release, and I was walking to my vehicle, I said, I'm never coming back. And I began to cry, Kendall, because I heard that voice again. And it said, you will be back, because you got to tell other people about the good news of Jesus Christ. And that's why today, Kendall, I'm still doing prison ministry at Everglades Correctional Institute over 10 years.
That's amazing, Eric. That's why I love doing this. Conversion stories and stories of how God acts and when Jesus is truly present in your life are so remarkable. Um, so so here you are. You're still a young man. You've made a decision. I'm never coming back to prison on this side of things. But obviously, there's a little personal commitment to going back and serving as a witness to those people that need to hear that message. Um, how what then happened? What did you do to align your life to the profession that you have now?
I had to find me a good Bible teaching church, Kendall. And I landed at a church called 93rd Street Community Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Pastor Carl Johnson. And there he raised me up in the Lord. That was my second birth. I had already been saved, but I rededicated my life right there at 93rd Street Community Missionary Baptist Church. And I began to get busy for the Lord. I was on the feeding ministry. I drove the bus. I did juvenile ministry. I stayed busy in the Lord.
Do you think that's important? Do you think that there's a power in motion to our faith?
We have been saved to serve. It is the most important thing in ministry. We must serve. And so, my favorite, one of my favorite scriptures is in Matthew's, where it talks about, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in the hospital, you came to see me. When I was in prison, you visit me. What it's saying, Kendall, is we must be about prison ministry, clothing ministry, feeding ministry, hospital ministry. We must be that. That's the Great Commission right there, to go out into the world and save the lost.
Amen. um, so I don't know that I'll get this right, but so you find yourself at the 93rd Street Community Missionary Baptist Church. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Um, the you're just kind of soaking it all in and giving all that you've got. And I've seen that a lot. That was the way I was when I had my conversion at 42 years old. I have seen a lot of people. Um, you get so overwhelmed with that peace and with that love of Christ that all you want to do is serve Him. Um, and so you go, 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 go. Did you ever reach a point where there was burnout, where you had to kind of reorient yourself, or has it been wide open ever since?
But we all slow down with age, Kendall. So and when you have a family, you have to prioritize because your family is your first ministry. But I can't really say I slowed down. I just prioritize, how I do ministry now. And so I do more outreach ministry. I'm still involved in working at homeless shelters, going to prison ministry, going to church, going to hospitals. And so I do a lot of outreach ministry. And so that never gets tiresome to me.
Yeah, I think if I prefer to refer to it as maturity and not age, but as you mature, you realize that you need to be more efficient with it, and you do have to balance a lot of priorities. You mentioned your family and your home. Talk to me a little bit. Obviously, you're married because we discussed that in the intro, but talk to me about your wife and your children.
Kendra, I have a beautiful wife of 16 years. Dr. Carlene Vincent Roberts. She's a dean at FIU. And I have two lovely daughters, Faith and Grace. Faith is 12 and Grace is 9. And I knew as a Christian that I had to get married. This is my second marriage. And I knew that for me to be the man that God called me to be, that I had to make that covenant with someone. And I'm so glad that God brought Carlene into my life.
Yeah, that's a calling, right? We're called to be priests, whether that is, preaching in a church or whether that's being the spiritual head of the household. And being the spiritual head of the household is the one that often gets forgotten. Um, but you can't do that without, having a good partner and then having Christ at the center of that relationship. Then you're empowered to do all else that you do, right? The outreach ministry and your children and teaching them and all of that. So I have definitely seen the fruits of that. Um, when it comes to balancing that time, so this is always a struggle, and I hear from a lot of probably more men than women. I think have a struggle with it because men tend to be 100% or 0%, and it's a little hard to balance that. But how do you what do you do personally to help balance your commitment to your family, your commitment to your wife and your children, as well as your commitment to ministry?
Well, first it starts with communication. Um, Me and my wife have to have a very strong line of communication, and we have to talk about, what is it that I can do and what I can't do. And so we talk. I always run everything by my wife first before I do it. And I think that's the secret, just to let your wife know that, hey, I'm going to be doing this, and what's going on with the family. Does the kids have appointments? But always making the family first. We have to know how to say no, and so I've learned how to, not put too much on my plate, but what's on my plate, my wife knows about it. And I think that's very important, not to just, say on the fly, oh, I have to go preach over here, or I need to go, over here. Um, we all always must remember that our family is our first ministry. And so I believe that we have to have a very open line of communication with our spouse on everything that we do.
Well, interesting that you say that. Family is the first ministry, because your business is called Saving Families. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So saving families was birthed out of what I didn't get, Kendall. Um, as I say, when I was young, which we didn't go into, but my first recollection of life, my mother was married to an abusive person, so I grew up in a domestic violence home, and so my mother was married 3 times, and so I never really had a stable family environment. So saving families is just what it is. We believe that each child needs a mother and a father in the household. And so that's very key to growing up in our world and our society of today. The next thing that we deal with is addiction. Because I didn't have a father in my household, um, I turned to addiction, alcoholism, and I began to drink too much. The next one is reentry. Due to me not having that family component and get involved in alcohol and crime, I end up incarcerated. And so saving families is just about that. It must start in the home, and we can have a better environment as far as in the schools and in the community. So if I had to, wrap it up, saving families, we deal with family counseling, addiction, reentry, and the last component is victim advocacy. Right now, I work with a company called Thrive in Mind, where I work with victims of crime, and so that's very near and dear to me right now.
What admirable work that is, Pastor Eric, and uh, a noble calling, right? Because I 100% agree with you. I think that we lose society if we lose families, and we lose the home. And that's the frontline ministry right there, is making sure that families are supported, there's love at the center, and there's God at the center of that. So kudos to you and the work that you're doing. um, how can people find Saving Families? How can they find you?
Our website was just started. It's savingfamiliesinc.com. You can find us there and get more information about what we're doing. Like I said, we just launched the website, and if anyone wants to volunteer, um, we always have room for volunteers.
That's fantastic. So I will put that link, and Eric, if you want me to share your contact information as well, we'll put that in the episode page, in the podcast episode page. We'll provide that information to make sure people know where they can find you, how they can support you, and then how they can volunteer as well. Unfortunately, as I warned you, this time goes very quickly, and so we're gonna have to wrap this up. E- Eric, I think that the work that you're doing is amazing, and your story has been amazing. And thank you so much for sharing it with us and with the audience. I um I, I could not agree more with you that the home is that place that needs a tremendous amount of focus. And a lot of what we see, and most of what we see going on in the world, happens because there's a breakdown of the family unit and breakdown of the home. So I applaud you again for the work that you do. And I will do all that I can to help make sure that people know how to find you and know how to support you. Some really great pieces that you shared with us about just having Christ at the center of your life, and knowing that all of those things we're burdened with, we can give up. But also, as we get older and we enter into relationships, to make sure that we find the right person, we put Christ at the center, communicate, and all of those healthy attributes of a relationship, because that's what's going to make our lives more meaningful and allow us to serve God in a more meaningful way as well, supporting each other. So thank you for sharing all of that. um, I'd like to acknowledge our partner, the Wow Center, again. Check out Wow Royale coming up. And a big shout out to our producer, Rachel, who managed to pull off this fully virtual studio that we have this week. Very different. And probably you saw me fumbling a little bit here, more than usual anyway. This is a very different look and feel for us. But she made it happen, and I am very grateful to you, as always, Rachel. If you are called, if you feel called, you feel a little rumbling in your insides that you want to help us, we do need sponsorships. We do want people to be able to use our platform to promote the good things that they do. So please check us out at everydayapostle.com. That is everydayapostle.com. And listeners, I ask you to continue your journey. Be in prayer. Continue to focus on what God has for you in your life, and don't be bashful. Don't hide your light under a bushel basket. it's okay to be Christian. It's okay to believe in God. And we all need the support, and we need that community. So feel free to do that. With that, we're going to draw episode 6 of the Everyday Apostle to a close. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Tuning in to the Everyday Apostle. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, on your favorite podcast outlet, and at our website at everydayapostle.com. Until next time, stay blessed.